Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing if this is something you end up enjoying. You never know, it could happen. Anyway, I wanted to do kind of go back into the books that I haven't read in a while, but I did some thorough reviews through Goodreads, and I wanted to revisit some of the classics that I've read since I was like, I don't know if I'll ever get to actually rereading or reviewing them for the channel. Figured may as well do it and revisit, starting with one of just my all-time favorite books, The Princess Bride, as you already know. Obviously, The Princess Bride, the movie, I saw it first actually. I didn't know there was a book that it was based on. When I first saw it, I was a kid, and it's been one of my favorite movies for ages, for my whole life. It's something that I was excited to show my kids, that now my kids request from time to time, which I feel like is a huge dad win. I mean, come on. So I feel like that's a huge dad win for me. Wanted to get into, again, my old review. Wanted to kind of do a video review of that review. Just remember how much I loved this book. So starting out, the structure. The structure of the book is actually quite interesting and done quite well in the movie. So first of all, if you notice here, The Princess Bride, S. Morgenstern's classic tale of true love and high adventure, the good parts version abridged by William Goldman. Holy cow, that is a mouthful. That's the name of the book, and that actually is part of just the beginning of the joke, all right? It's the joke. So this is something, what's funny is I included this kind of explanation in my Goodreads review, and I've gotten a healthy amount of comments over the years that are like, oh, that makes so much more sense now. So essentially, it's just a structure of the book. S. Morgenstern's classic tale doesn't actually exist. Can you believe it? So it doesn't exist. It's all made up by Goldman. And it's this fake thing that he was able to say, hey, look, I abridged it and made it something that is more readable. And the funny part, so what that does is it allows him to play with that structure and to play with his own ability as an editor now of this book that he's completely made up on his own, to be able to insert his own things into it. He can insert parentheticals into it. For example, just kind of, setting up this land of Florin, which is all made up, but kind of the time period in which it's taking place. She examined herself pore by pore in her mirror, in parentheses. This is after mirrors. I'll leave the lad an acre in my will, Buttercup's father was fond of saying. They had acres then. Then, rather than continue the argument, they had arguments then too, they would both turn on their daughter. So that was constantly throughout, this little thing that Goldman would just throw in to kind of, it made me laugh every time. He even has a note, a footnote, I believe it is. It might be parenthetical too, but just to say, hey, if these parentheticals are bothering you, just ignore them. They don't really add anything to the story, but they add everything to the story, frankly, for me. So The Princess Bride does begin much like the movie. William Goldman himself gets sick, and his dad comes in to read him this story. Only this is, we don't jump right into that story. We go kind of into a little bit about Goldman's life, and some things are true. I had to do some research on this, and some things are not true. We go into his life where he actually did write Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That's a hugely famous movie. He's written multiple movies, not the least of which is The Princess Bride, the screenplay for it, as well as the novel. But he has a fictional psychotherapist wife. I had to look that one up. That took some looking up. And then finally, like 40 pages in, you finally get to the actual story that we know and love. And I like to put it, the important parts of the book are in the movie, and really, which is great. And the only thing missing really from the book is the amazing performances, which the book just can't get. So this is what makes, and I'll talk about the movie a little bit later, which makes them both so good on their own in different ways. And it's funny because then Goldman also talks about him trying to read the book to his kid and not knowing that his dad had made his own good parts version. And because he gets to the actual S. Morgenstern's classic again, that doesn't exist, that and it's just like lists of like royalty forever, and they're the who begat whom and blah blah blah. And which is funny, he also kind of makes commentary that Morgenstern is being sarcastic, satiric when he's doing this. It's just, I don't know, it just makes me laugh so hard just remembering this. I want to read it again so badly. And so he's constantly making these little like snippets in, you know, editorial notes, not unlike Jim Gaffigan. If you ever watch him, he kind of does these like this like commentary voice from the audience that he's making fun of himself. Then, oh, why would he make fun of that? He does it in this like little voice. Why would he make fun of that? Terrible. I love that, and I just like, I cannot express how great that is. And it's a little bit like the movie, but the movie doesn't quite do that, and the movie does not get into that funny aspect of the book that is all the book, and I highly recommend reading the book just for those parts. So, and I don't know about you, but if you're anything like me, I can quote this movie. I can quote so many things. I quote things from this movie almost on a daily basis. I love The Princess Bride. I've read Cary Elwes's his memoir, As You Wish, and it's just great, and talks about Andre the Giant farting forever, and and just like constantly just great stories. Him injuring himself on an ATV. Anyway, it's just highly recommended as well, especially if you're a fan like me. But I have to say, like I was saying, I love, this is one where I included the movie in my list of movies where the movies are better than the books. I even, you know, counted movies that are just as good as the books, because that's just as rare. The book really does, or the movie really does exceed the book, because I love the book. The movie, it does better than the book in the fact that you just can't do Miracle Max as well as Billy Crystal does in there, right? Andre the Giant, he's so brilliant as Fezzik. Like, it just, everyone, I mean, it's such a brilliant cast. I don't know how they did it, and it just worked so well, but you can't get that into the book. And even, I have to say, as much as I love this book, some of the characters were a little flat in the book, like Miracle Max. Luckily not a huge part or anything, but that just, because you're just used to, again, I'd seen the movie 30 times before I'd read the book. Obviously, like as books are wont to do, yes, they don't have the performances, but what they do have is more backstory, more getting into the head of the characters, and that's what just is great, because you have each of the famous fight scenes, like between the Man in Black and each of the 3 kidnappers, right? Inigo Montoya, Fezzik, Vizzini. But you get a lot of backstory between them, and you get, my favorite possibly is Fezzik, and just how, you know, he kind of makes a one-off comment that he's, you know, not used to fighting one person, you know, in the movie, and he's used to fighting multiple people. Well, it goes into detail on him fighting many people, and him eventually having to, like, learning how to throw fights so that people didn't hate him, and most importantly, how much he loves rhyming, and the rhyming, it goes into actually more detail on that. So if you want some backstory on that, highly recommended. You got to read the book. Inigo Montoya is just his classic and tragic character, and his father and everything like that. It goes into that. And again, how he becomes the best swordsman in the world for time, right? Spoiler, sorry. If you haven't seen the movie by now, I don't know what's going on. And then, of course, Vizzini, his self-proclaimed most smartest man in the world. I'll keep it at that. And one of my favorite parts about this too is, with that humor, is Goldman is kind of obsessed with this like numbering and ranking people, almost like he was a YouTuber before YouTube. Sorry, I don't mean to sully his name with that. Anyway, you know, it starts out, Buttercup's not even in the top 20 of all women in the world, of most beautiful women in the world. But quickly, she's up to the top, so don't worry. Humperdinck is the best swordsman in the world. But Wesley and Buttercup's kiss is better than the top 5 kisses in all the world. So there's all these great things that just, it gives this like magic to the whole story, but also the humor is there in spades, and no wonder that the movie's so great, because the same author of the book did the screenplay and also was an experienced movie writer, right? Like, that's also important. Wit, the charm, everything, it's amazing, and it's all in the book. I cannot recommend it enough. My version has this sweet like pull-out map in here of Florin. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, even just in the paperback here. It does also have, it includes Buttercup's Baby, this extra short story. I highly recommend that you do not read it. Not worth it. It kind of, I don't know, it messes with the story too much. It's not worth it. I didn't like it. I don't think it was worth it at all. Just keep the story as is. That's your best bet. You'll be happier that way. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this kind of look back at an older review of mine at a book that I just hold so fondly. And I hope to do some more of these, just some classics that I've read, that I plan to reread one day. Jump in and please read it if you haven't already. This is 10 out of 10. Shelves, not even a question. It's just one of the best books ever. I need to update my top 10 list for standalones because for some reason Princess Bride didn't make it. I don't know what I was thinking. You got me. So anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe if this is the sort of thing you might subscribe to or like. You never know. Anyway, we'll catch you later. Bye.